Hi, and welcome to Miss V and Co. I'm Miss V, and today I am accompanied by the Radiance series by Grace Draven. I understand that there are a couple more books in the series other than just Radiance and Eidolon, but these are the two I have, and I'm pretty sure they're the only characters with Ildiko, and Brishan. So, to start off, those of you who have read the book have probably heard me say the name Ildiko, and apparently that's not right. So I was reading Goodreads reviews when I was doing my Goodreads reviews, and someone asked the question, how do you say her first name? It's apparently Ildiko, but I was raised in the southern United States, and I don't stress any more vowels than I feel the need to stress, right? So it's Ildiko for me. Ildiko is just too much trouble to say, I'm sorry, especially considering that I didn't like these books particularly. So, a brief overview of these books. They are a fantasy romance series. Or I guess I'd call them fantasy romance. There's some stuff that happens, but for the most part, it is about our heroine Ildiko and our hero Brishan, falling in love, all that jazz. At least the first book is. In the second book, there is a force that is threatening to destroy the world, and mainly Brishan has to solve it, and Ildiko has to be dramatic about it. Now, as a bit of a disclaimer, I wasn't as big a fan of these books, and that's kind of the point of this video, is that I didn't like these books as much, and I am trying to kind of tell you how I'd fix the books, how I thought the books maybe should have gone. But going through Goodreads reviews, seems like the majority of people who read these books liked them. These books are new adult, technically. They're as close to high fantasy as I've read in a hot minute. They're new adult, which is for the group just after young adult. We're not quite 30 yet, but, well, I'd say they're like college age. I'm like college age, so that's good for me. I'm fine with, new adult. But yeah, there are some the characters are a little bit younger than in a lot of the other romances that I've been reading lately. So it's not like either of these characters were aging and spinsterly and never expected to really, get together with anybody or anything. So, what went wrong for me, right? Sorry. So a lot of people really liked these books, and it's a lot of people's cup of tea, but for me, not really my thing. It's not that, they're necessarily bad. It's just that I thought they could have been so good, but instead of being, what I thought they would be, they just left so much unfulfilled. There was so much they could have done, but they didn't. And I think for me that was the main issue, is that I'm reading it, and every so often I'd read something that happens and I'd be like, they should have done this. They could do this. And every time it's like the author Grace Draven just kind of took the easy way out instead of giving the characters actual like big struggles. Yes, and sorry, spoilers. Yes, at the end of this book of Radiance, yeah, Brishan's pretty injured, but he's like, oh no, I lost my eye. I must be so ugly now. But then he's like, but Ildiko doesn't mind, so I'm fine. Guess my depth perception sucks. Too bad. It's just, and the characters, they're kind of Mary Sue's. Both of them are, part of the whole, point, especially of Radiance, is that the two main characters are hideous to each other. They are, Ildiko thinks that Brishan looks like a dead eel, and Brishan thinks that Ildiko looks like a mollusk, a boiled mollusk, I'm pretty sure. And Ildiko has to go to Brishan's land to, marry him, become a duchess, whatever. And okay, here's the thing. They're both really hot, right? Like in their own worlds, they're just so hot. Why? If they're gonna be ugly to each other anyway, might as well just not make them hot. I mean, that's probably one of my first issues. And my second issue would be, I guess, just they don't really have characters, especially Ildiko. She takes everything in stride. Everything. Like, there's no angst to either of these people. They're like, oh yeah, I guess my past tragic backstory, whatever. Like, there was some tragic backstory, but it doesn't affect them now. They're not living now like they're not living now like they had troubles in the past, which is frustrating for me. Like there's some potential for them to have some angst to be affected by their past, but instead they're like, that was then and this is now. Especially in Edelon, Brishan keeps on being like, she's so practical. Ildiko is such a practical and straightforward and well thought wife. She's so great. And it's like, yeah, but can't she do something? I don't want to read about reasonable people. I don't want a realistic romance between two different species or between the same species. If I wanted realistic romance, I would join Tinder. Okay? And that will probably be a catchphrase on this channel. I do not want realistic. I want overdramatic. I want angsty. This is a fantasy series. We can do better than this. Edelon. Sorry, I picked up the wrong book. Edelon, you'll see the bookmark? Yeah, it's because I didn't finish. I got about 218 pages in. I was starting to skim. It was starting to feel like required reading. I don't like doing required reading. But also, I kind of flipped ahead to see what would happen. So I know what will happen. And really? It's... from the beginning that it's going to have a happy ending. And that's half of the reason I'm reading these romancy books. I want a happy ending. I don't want to stress too much about the book I'm reading. So I know it'll have a happy ending. That's a given. So the way we get to that happy ending should be fun and not just, uh-oh, there's a whole evil army coming at us and there's one way to save the world, but it's gonna hurt. And then, well, I guess we have no choice. We must save the world even if it's gonna be bad for our people. Okay. Huh. I saved the world and I lived. Yay! Not to mention there was a whole subplot with, oh my god, what's her name? I don't care that much. Nekos, Kurgipa, and Dendara. Let's talk about them for a moment. They're probably one of the bigger things of where it went wrong in Edelon. Actually, it's not one of the bigger things, but it's one of the more annoying things for me, right? Kurgipa is the nursemaid of the daughter of the person who's the heir to the throne. Of course, everyone else in the family dies except for this infant and Brishan, who of course is not in the palace. So her whole thing is she's taking the heir to the palace. And there's a prologue about how she survives, the death of everyone in the palace. But then every few chapters, I have to read about her and the two guards going to Sagara, where Brishan and Ildiko are living, and I have to read about her whole journey. And it's really boring. It's just, we're walking. I'm tired. My feet hurt. Nekos is kind of cute. Dandara exists. Uh-oh, there are scary things across the water. Luckily, we're on the other side of the shore, and scary things can't reach us across the water. Yay! It's just, oh my god. If they just had her in the prologue, never shown her again until she gets back to the palace at the very end, and like she's together with Nekos or whatever at that point, I'd be okay with that. You don't need to show her whole journey in the middle. All it does is pad out the book. And for some reason, I feel like that's all it was intended to do. So, some more things. Well, actually, that's about where I can say what went wrong without me putting in maybe fixes, I guess. Because part of the point of this video is for me to try and help fix these books so that they would be more fun to read. And once again, I will say, a lot of people liked these. I actually, after I read these books, I was reading other reviews on Goodreads and I saw a link to a YouTuber talking about the series. I think it was probably one of the only people who've talked about it. I don't think it's a super well-known series. But she loved it. She absolutely adored it, right? And there were things that she really liked about it, and that's valid. Watching her enthusiasm, I almost wanted to like it. I just can't bring myself to, so it's valid to like these books. If they give you what you want, that's all that matters. This whole channel is part of the reason that I started it is because I'm reading these romances that, when I first started reading them, I was like, oh yeah, I'm just reading crappy romances. And you know why? Because I was embarrassed to be reading these romances and to be enjoying them. And so the whole point of this whole channel is that you can read whatever you want. You should be allowed to enjoy what you read, and there is no shame in enjoying books that other people might not like as much, right? So let's talk about where I wanted it to go versus where it went. So let's start with Radiance. Radiance went a little bit closer to where I guess I would have wanted it to go, because Radiance was a much more straightforward book. We have two main characters, and in the beginning, they're friendly. I'm okay with friends to lovers. I honestly don't really like enemies to lovers. Friends to lovers, insta lovers, I'm fine with that. Okay, they're friendly in the beginning, and by the end, this screen's all reversed. They're friendly in the beginning, and by the end, they are lovers, right? I'm okay with that. That's fine. It's pretty straightforward. Whoops. I just knocked into my plants because I was scooting back. That's okay. Instant back rest, right? Got my roses. Got my violets. So we start off here. So you've got the romantic plot. And I'm going to say that the romantic plot is the plot. And again, that's valid. That's okay. I'm not mad about that. And then you have the subplot, which serves as kind of the filler around what's going on with our heroes. And the subplot is that there are people from an outside kingdom, outside of the kingdom that Ildiko is from, and the kingdom that Brishan is from. And they're angry at the two kingdoms for making an alliance via Ildiko and Brishan's marriage. And they want to kill Ildiko and Brishan and also attack Gwar, which is where Ildiko is from. That's cool. Whatever. It's just... like, they attack once in the beginning, attack again in the end. I mean, what I think would have been cooler, and this is kind of going into fixing the series a little bit, instead of having some whole weird, what are they called? I don't think I can find it because I didn't... Bellawat. I found it. Instead of Bellawat having some whole thing against Gwar, why not have, like, the human race feel bad for Ildiko, right? Like, she she's been swept away to the land of the Kai, and the Kai is Brishan's race. She's been swept away to the land of the Kai, and she's being forced to be this monster's wife. And so they try and steal her away right after she gets married. But when they fail, they're like, okay, so we have to kill the husband to free the wife. And that's why they take Brishan, is because they want to free Ildiko because she is a beauty unspoken of. And so, but instead of killing him right away, because they don't really want to kill, they try and bargain with the king and the queen to try and release Ildiko from the marriage without spilling any actual blood. I think that would have made the whole climax a little bit more interesting, especially since all the political stuff between Guar and Belawat, kind of, I just don't care, right? Now, another issue with Radiance is that Ildiko adjusts to a new culture entirely too quickly. I'm sorry, but firstly, it's not healthy for humans to be awake all night and sleep all day. And yes, I know that you're about to comment that you sleep all day and are awake all night, and I'm going to say that's just not, it's not the ideal state, right? So she's like, but like right after she gets married, she's like, I guess I just have to adapt myself to this new sleep schedule. The Kai have trouble eating human food, right? They hate it, they think it's disgusting. But Ildiko goes to the land of Bast Heradis. That's the land of the Kai. She goes to Bast Heradis, and she likes all of their food except for that one dish, which is a live bug that you have to kill before you eat it. That she doesn't like as much, but it's okay because some other Kai don't like it. It's just considered a delicacy. Like, really? But she can eat it anyway. Like, she's fine. She's fine. She adapts to wearing their clothing, and it's actually much more freeing than her human clothing. It's like, oh my god. First off, marry so much. Secondly, can't you have some trouble adapting? Like, imagine how much drama you could add into the book by having this girl have some trouble adapting to her situation, right? Have her start wasting away, and everyone's like, why is she so unwell? And they try everything. They try all of their medicines and nothing can work. And then, she goes outside in the sun and she starts to feel better. And they have to find a way to balance between Brishan's inability to be in the sun and her need to be in the sun. And they have to figure that out. Or she doesn't like the food. She has to bring in her own separate cook from Guar because she just cannot eat the food that the Kai serve. And she will, like, for ceremonies, but it's like the Kai eating her food. She just thinks it's disgusting. She thinks it's awful. Also, there should be customs that freak her out. There should be things she misses from home. I mean, sis is like, I want to go to Bast Heradis because I have no family or friends here in Guar. Like, you're a noble woman. You're pretty. You're telling me that you're not leaving behind a single friend? At some point, that's a problem with you, hun. Like, if she doesn't have any friends, then there should be a personality defect to go with why. And if she does have friends, then she should feel bad about leaving them. She should have some trouble saying goodbye, right? And she just doesn't. She's like, it's okay. I don't have any friends. You're my only friend, Brishan. Of course, then Anhuset, she also becomes a friend among the Kai, but it's like she doesn't miss anyone except for her parents, but they're dead anyway, so it's no big deal. She doesn't miss anyone except her parents. She doesn't miss anything. She doesn't have really any trouble learning the Kai language. Like, at the beginning, she's like, I don't speak very good Kai, but by the end of the book, she speaks it just fine. It's like, so no language barrier. It's like she surmounts every obstacle so easily. And these cultures, mind you, are supposed to be completely different. I mean, I went to Germany once for a month as a study abroad thing, and I mean, while there wasn't necessarily huge culture shock, there were just little things that over time they started to rub on me. Like every time I was reading a sign, anytime I was, reading any part of a book, it was always in German. And I just started missing reading in English. I mean, look at me. I missed reading things in English because I'm a slower reader in German. My reading comprehension is not as good. So I missed it. Or I was walking back to my host family's place from the train station, and I realized I really wanted sweet tea. Like, I drink sweet tea some here, not anymore because I'm trying not to eat sugar, but sweet tea's fine. I like it, it's good. But I just craved it. I wanted sweet tea. And they don't really have that in Germany. And it's, these little things that start to build up. You miss things from your home culture. And I'm sorry, but I just can't believe a character who misses absolutely nothing from the place she's called home from the time she was born, from the time she was an embryo, you know? I just can't, I just don't, it does not compute. So, how would I fix this? I'd have her have some fucking culture shock. Not only would that cut down the need for a lot of the excessive filler you see happening, but it would add some angst, it would add some drama to the book. Also, she's really hot, And she goes to this new country where everyone thinks that she's ugly as sin, and she's like, oh well, that's just how it goes, right? No, that is not just how it goes. Look, sis, you and I, we were both raised in cultures that value beauty, right? If you have been hailed as a beautiful woman your whole life, first off, it would add some personality to this Mary Sue if she was maybe a little bit vain. She puts value into her appearance. And she suddenly goes to this place where everyone's repulsed by her. That would have a negative impact on the mental health. She should be upset by it. What if you have a couple scenes where she tries to make herself look more like the Kai women, but it fails because she's human and she just can't pull it off? And she has to learn to accept herself as she is and love her own appearance instead of relying on other people to love her appearance. Like, she's selfless, she's humble, she's modest. I get that these characters are often supposed to kind of be self-inserts. And I get that, I self-insert almost all the heroines in these books, right? And that is half the point. You have to be able to put yourself into these characters' shoes and live vicariously through them. But that does not mean that they have to be mannequins that you are putting yourself onto, right? She needs some kind of character trait. And if she doesn't actually have a character trait, people need to acknowledge character traits, whether or not she shows them. But all you ever hear is, she's so practical. She's got such a warm heart. She's so funny. She's not very funny. I'm sorry. And it's just, it doesn't really work. So give her a personality, make her vain, make it hard for her to adapt. That way they have to work for their relationship instead of, you're so nice on the inside, suddenly I like you on the outside too. Also, monster sex? Really? Look, I'm asexual, so when I'm reading books like this, I skip the sex scenes, firstly, but I don't really skim them. I skip them. I more skim them. So let me find a sex scene. You'll die if you stay, blah blah. So if I was reading it, it would sound like, forgive, nothing to forgive. He made short work of the tunic. Priscian's chest was hot against hers. Zelda coerced her back. He employed a trick he discovered when first they were together. Body as well as her heart. She stopped him with a hand on his hip. Wait, I'd like to see you in sunlight. And then they're not banging, so I read that part. And then we kind of go back. He touches head muzzle with cleavage. She was eager to learn more. Oh, now they're not having sex, so I have to read that part. Right, so I'm not actually reading the sex, I'm skimming it. But what I skimmed was icky. I'm asexual. I'm on the sex repulse side of the scale. I'm not interested in sexual chemistry. I'm not interested in sex scenes. And that is one thing that I think that these books did okay, is that the characters like each other for each other before they like each other for their bodies. And that I can get behind, that I can respect. I just wish that I could love the characters for them too. Um Sex scenes are kind of weird. I'm no expert on kissing, clearly, but it kind of, because he's got the sharp fangs that would like really hurt her, so he can't make out with her like she would be able to with a human. So she like sucks on his tongue. It's just, oh, spit exchange, gross. You know, and he's got like he's got fangs and sharp nails. It's like, that seems dangerous. I don't think I'd tap that. So moving on to Edelon, things that I would maybe change. So there's a little bit of relationship drama because Ildiko can't give Brishan an heir. And since Brishan is now the last in his line, he's gonna need an heir. So Ildiko's like, well, I can't give you an heir, so I might have to leave. And he's like, no, don't. And she's like, might have to. They bang a lot. And then she's like, I'm not your brood mare. And he's like, misunderstanding. And she's like, understood. And he's like, don't leave. And she's like, don't worry, I won't. And relationship drama. Why? It's like they were trying to give us the same fluff in the second book as they gave us in the first. But the first gave us the fill of fluff. We don't need any more fluff now. And it's still trying to fluff it up. And it's like, if you wanted relationship drama, and this is part of the reason I had to stop reading the book, because I really wanted them to do this thing, and they didn't. They didn't. So there's a big old thing coming at them. Big evil shadow people thing. They're big demon guys. And Brishan has to save the world while he's asleep, because he has to, like, his body has to die and then his spirit has to go and raise the dead and kill the evil. While he's asleep, Ildiko should run away. She leaves him a note just letting him know, hey, I've gone back to Gwar, I can't give you what you need, so I have to leave. You know, they have the building tension, they don't resolve the conflict, firstly. They don't resolve anything in the first half of the book. She runs back to Gwar. Brishan, after destroying the evil forces, comes back hoping to find his wife, and she's not there, right? And at first he's like, well, this is what she wants. This might be what's best. I'm not happy with it, but duty comes first, right? Because duty does come first. And so he starts looking at the Kai women, and he's just not into any of them because true love and all that. And then his niece comes, and they're like, guess what? You're not the end of your line after all. She's like, neat. So he goes to Gwar. But he sees something. He sees Ildiko blending in, being happy, visiting one of those friends that I said she should have in the first book. And he realizes that she had to turn her life upside down for him. So it's only fair for him to do the same for her, and he assimilates himself into Gwar culture in order to make her feel better. And so then he approaches her and he's like, look, I've learned your culture, I've learned your language, you know, we can still work out. And she's like, you didn't have to do that. How nice. You know, something. And you know, maybe when he first gets to Gwar, she's mad at him. for coming. She's mad at him for coming and not for staying around and having heirs like he should, or for not ruling in the place of his niece. And she's like, I'm fine. I'll live my life alone. It's okay. I'm fine. And he comes back and he learns how to be a Guar gentleman. And that would be more interesting than fight, resolution. She should run. Brishan has not had to work for Ildiko in this entire series. Brishan's got to do some legwork, sis. I'm sorry, that's half the fun of these, is seeing the heroes do the legwork for the relationship. And he doesn't. He marries her and he's got her. Done. No conflict, no drama. That's what I'm reading these things for. And that was my main issue with that book, was that Ildiko didn't run back to Guar, and Brishan didn't have to do any work for her, really. Also, the Kurgaba thing, just cut her scenes out. They're not needed. Aside from that, I'm trying to think of any other issues I might have had with the books. That's really it. Because I didn't like the characters, it was hard to forgive anything else that happened that went wrong in the books. So ultimately, I didn't like them much, but I know that a lot of people did, and it's a lot of people's cups of tea. Some people really like reading about people who aren't super dramatic and who get together and have that fluff without all the drama, and I respect that. I like angst. So that was my kind of doctoring up the Radiance and Eidolon books by Grace Draven. Tune in next time. Bye. I need to find the off switch.